John Ulzheimer is known as one of our nation's most recognized credit experts. Having worked for 28 years in the credit industry, John has become one of the most prolific speakers about credit and the go-to authority on answers to credit-related questions. Credit Countdown with John Ulzheimer.
Hello, my name is John Ulzheimer. I am a consumer credit expert. I have almost 30 years of experience in the credit industry. I have spent time at FICO, which is the company behind the FICO credit scoring system, and Equifax, which is one of the three generally recognized credit reporting agencies in the US. And so today I'm going to talk about, I'm going to answer a question that I get quite a bit that's got a very counterintuitive answer. The question is how often do your credit scores change? So the question itself assumes something that is not actually true. It assumes that you have a credit score that is constantly part of you, your life, your credit report, and that it goes up and down, kind of like a thermometer. Like if you look outside and you look at a thermometer that's outside, it's constantly going up and going down depending on whether it's hotter or colder, or maybe sometimes it just sits there if it's the same temperature for a few hours. But the same concept is not true as it pertains to credit scores. So there is no credit score thermometer, if you will, that is attached to your credit reports, and that every time something changes on a credit report, that score ticks up or ticks down. And so the real answer to how often does your credit score change is it only changes every single time a bank or someone pulls your credit report and asks for a credit score to be calculated. Because when your score is calculated, it disappears. It doesn't stay somehow stuck to your credit report for any period of time. A credit score is just a luxury product sold with the credit report. It's almost like the leather interior of a car. You pay extra for it, you get it, it's part of your car, and then the next time you buy a car, you have to buy it again if you want it in that particular car, so it doesn't travel with you. I'll give you kind of a visual example. Let's just say hypothetically that on January 1st of some year, your score was 750. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be 750 on the second day of the month. Your score, if it was pulled again by a lender, could be 752. That's not a 2, that is. It could be 757. It could be 696, which would not be a good change. It could go up to 800. So it didn't really change per se, it's just a different score because it was recalculated again sometime in the future, and the information on your credit report is different than it was the prior time your score was calculated. And so what it does is it gives the impression that the score went up or went down simply based on it being a different point in time, and that's not actually what happens. So if your score is different between the two times that it's pulled, that's actually very, very normal. There's nothing at all to be concerned with unless the difference in the scores is considerable. Most scores are going to change over time by about between plus and minus 25 points. If you were to pull your credit report once a month at the same exact time, then you should expect to see your scores kind of migrating, if you will, within this range of plus or minus 25 points. If it starts to go outside of this 25-point range, so this right here is going to be 25 points, and so your score should fluctuate within that 25-point range over time, unless something major happens to your credit report. So what could possibly change that could cause your score to migrate out of this 25-point range? Well, of course, a new collection can hit your credit report. An old collection can fall off your credit report. You could pay off a bunch of credit card debt. You can incur a ton of credit card debt. So your scores can go up or they can go down considerably based on really meaningful changes to your credit report. So that's something that you're going to want to keep in mind. You should not at all be concerned. I get a lot of messages from consumers, hey, last month my score was 790, now it's 791. And last month it was 784. What's going on? And it's just like perception that there's something really wrong happening. And I'm like, that's perfectly normal. That's actually a pretty tight, if you looked at it like score migration range, that's actually a really tight score migration range, which is actually great. Most people don't enjoy score ranges of about 10 points like that. For most of it, it's plus or minus 25 points. Even me, someone who's had credit for 3 decades and understands how credit scoring systems work, my score tends to migrate plus or minus 15 or so points, depending on what time of the year. Some times of the year, I take on much more credit card debt because of things that are due, and I like to put them on my credit card because I like to earn the points. And so my score is gonna dip. And then there are some months where I don't use my credit cards very much at all, and my score goes up considerably that month because I have 0 debt or no debt appearing on my report. So it's not uncommon to see your scores change over time. What should not happen, and this is important, is they should not transcend good and bad, meaning that if your score, this is a really good example, if your score was a 750 on the first day of this year, okay, and then on the first day of the following month, your score was 660, that's a problem. And it's a problem because something happened between this period of time and this 30-day period that caused the second calculation of your score to be 90 points lower, 90 points lower than the first time it was calculated during the year. And so this is a problem because you have transcended a good score to now a bad score. And most people would consider 660 to be a bad score. Anything below 680 is generally considered subprime. And the best deals for consumers on mortgages and auto loans are going to be for people who have scores into the 700s, if not well into the 700s. So this is a problem. This means that something hit your credit report in this 30-day period that is considerably different than what your credit report looked like on the first day of the year. So you're going to want to pull your credit reports and do an inventory of the information. And there's no way you're going to look at the 2 credit reports and say, yeah, it's identical, nothing really changed. No way. That's too much of a score difference for nothing to have changed. Either you're not comparing apples to apples as far as scoring systems go, meaning you may be comparing FICO to Vantage Score or some old version to some new version of a score. But if you're comparing apples to apples, there's no way that there's not some sort of a material change on your credit report. So again, hopefully this helped not only with explaining that your credit scores don't really change like the thermometer changes over time, but if your scores are pulled at the same time during every month, they should migrate within a plus or minus 25 point range. That's perfectly normal and healthy. And if there are meaningful changes to your score where you transcend what are called risk tiers, this is considered low risk, that's considered high risk, then something really problematic probably hit your credit report. You're going to want to pull your credit reports and do a little triage and see if you can get whatever it is rectified. If it's an erroneous entry, then obviously you're going to want to get it removed. So hopefully it's helped to answer some questions. If you've got any further questions, drop them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to get to them. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great rest of your day.
For more videos and credit tips from John Ulzheimer, go to www.tradelinesupply.com.